Alright, this is the last video in the series on Mercurial source control with Domino Designer 9. If you've made it here, welcome back. So there's basically one topic we're going to cover in this video, and I've got 3 or 4 slides I just want to talk to about some concepts, and then I'll actually do a short demonstration of these concepts in Domino Designer. So here, the big concept or the big topic of this video is essentially your own source control strategy. Now, what I'm going to show you is a strategy that works for us. Now, you got to keep in mind that in our world today, we are hosting a publicly facing XPage application. It's multi-tenant. In fact, the users of our application are extremely high-profile users who basically don't brook any problems. So consequently, stability is very, very important to us. In our world, we've got a production slash failover environment that's got multiple servers for that. We also have a test environment that's in the cloud, and then in addition to that, we would have our own personal, local environments that we would that are not available publicly, that we would code against, and everybody on the team would have kind of their own dev environment. So to that end, we already know that we've got all these mechanisms that are built into source control. We've got all the commits and the history, and you can do revert and all that kind of good stuff. But most importantly, as we just discussed in the previous video, you can reassociate or disassociate your repository from an NSF and reassociate it with an additional NSF, either a new one or an existing one. So our strategy is designed to basically accomplish a couple goals. However, I'm going to talk through it, but I just want to caveat that to say not everybody's strategy is going to be this strategy. In fact, a lot of people I've talked to basically probably would look at our strategy and have some, I don't know, everybody has their own opinion about it, I should say. I think once you get to the point where you're developing your own strategy, you probably know enough about source control and your own environment to sort of kind of go the way that seems to work best for you. But we've got reasons for this, and I'll kind of talk through them. So the way we work it is in our personal local dev environment, if we need to make changes, we will reassociate the repo with a local NSF replica of our application. We will switch to our own personal dev branch in the repo, do all of our changes, test them. Anytime we make a change, we make it to a local NSF. We replicate that NSF up to the server. Life's good. We test it. Works great. But now we want to, let's say, put that code into our test environment. The order of operations may vary here. Sometimes we'll take our changes in our personal branch, merge them into the test branch or the development branch, test them in our own personal test environment. If life's all good there, then we will basically reassociate the repo with a local replica of the application in the test environment. And in the test environment, we'll replicate, we reassociate. It takes all of the code from the development slash test branch, stuffs it into the NSF. We replicate the NSF up into the server, up in the cloud, and test it there. And we'll do that often for a sort of a more of a major change. Similar small simple changes will go right from personal test over into production, or even from test, the test environment into production without updating the other environment. But again, the branching thing kind of helps us out there. But the big difference here is all these environments are cloned, except for customer data, I should say, but they're basically cloned operational environments. But the one that's the test environment is in the cloud, so we can also test latency, network latency, and performance on remote mobile devices, etc. So let's just say we've got something that life's good, and we want to put that into production. Generally, what we'll do here is migrate or merge the changes from our development branch in the repo and merge those into our master branch in the repo, test it in our test environment. If life's all good there, then we know we've done as much testing as we can. Then we'll reassociate the repo with another NSF. Now this NSF, I've got it labeled as a design template But it is an NSF. It just has a design template designation. It says I'm a design template. The production local replica of our application gets its design from this design template. So we will switch the repo that will stuff all of the code into our design template from the master branch. Now we've got a copy of all good gold code, been tested and often multiple times. We'll refresh the design of this production replica from this NSF. We always have to make sure that the signatures always match and all that kind of stuff. Then we'll replicate our new code base up into the production server, and life's good. Of course, Domino normally doesn't require any restarts. Matter of fact, right now I can't think of a situation that we have to restart, so nothing in our personal process actually requires us to do any restarts. But that's how we do it. And again, there's reasons. A little bit of our thought process behind that is, we keep our own personal test environments and our own branches so that we don't overstep each other, and we do a lot of communication with each other just to make sure that, hey, I'm working on this, they're working on that, and that kind of a thing. We like that. The test environment, as I mentioned, we sometimes use it, but we don't always use it. We use it when we think it's necessary. And the other guy on the team here would say, "Oh, it's always necessary," and he's probably he probably gets real nervous when I say, "Nah, that whole test environment in the middle thing, that's not always necessary." But the big thing here is in the production environment, we use the design template mechanism to basically as a safety mechanism, because we want it to be a little harder to push code into production. So we require that extra step in our environment, and that's why we use the design template. So there are other ways to do these kinds of things. Some people say, well, I basically produce a design template every time out of my repo, and then I use that to update the databases or that kind of thing. But the point here is, this is the way we do it. You've got enough tools in your tool bag to kind of decide how you're going to do it in your environment. So let's take a look at that. There are some things that kind of get you into trouble, and that's why knowing how to do revert and how to switch is going to be very handy. So in my case, I've actually already got the repo connected to the repo demo NSF, and I'm on the master branch. So what I want to do is I want to put something in production. So I'm going to switch my repo to now connect to my repo dev NSF. And it's going to ask you, are you sure? Well, yes, I am. So now it says it's associated with the repo dev NSF. That's good, but I'm on the wrong branch. So I'm in the master branch. I'm going to switch to the Rust dev branch. And now I've switched to the Rust dev branch, and anything I do is only going to happen in my branch. I'm going to go over here, and this is the repo dev, and we're going to make a change in the test, and we're going to, we don't like any of this stuff, so we're cleaned out all the old updates. Great. Now at that point, we've just made a change. We would commit, just like we've talked about, small update on repo dev NSF. So we've got that. That's good. We'll commit that change. Now at that point, what we would do is we would go over here to our repo dev, and we would replicate that up to the server, and then we'd test it. Life's good. Now we come back over here and we say, okay, that's great, that really works great. I want to put that into test. Okay, I'm gonna switch to my development branch. Now I'm in the development branch, still in the repo dev. I'm going to merge the changes from the Rust dev branch into my branch. It says, well, these are the things that have been changed. Okay. If there had been any conflicts, we would have had to resolve those. Now at that point, I've now merged all the changes into the other branch. Life's going to be good. We would replicate that up and test it. But then, in order to move this whole process over to the test environment, I'm going to reassociate the NSF or the repo to our test NSF. It's going to do its thing. Yes, I am. Now it says, oh, I'm in the repo test. I'm in the development. I just updated this repo test critter right here. I would replicate that up to the server. Again, a different server. Test it. Make sure life's good. Hey, that's all great. Let's merge those changes into the production or the master branch. So I'm going to switch to the master branch. I've now switched over. I'm going to merge all the changes from the development branch. It's going to say, yep, sure enough, now we have those changes. So now I'm in the master branch working on the test NSF in the test environment. I would replicate that back up just to make sure that maybe there was not some changes done in another branch at some point. We test it. Life's good. Now we would reassociate our NSF with a new NSF. So in our case, we actually have an existing NSF all the time. But let's just go ahead and we'll say, yeah, I want to make a brand new one, and we'll call this, new template. So now it's making the new template NSF. Over here is our new template NSF. We would go in here and say, all right, you are our design template, because template X is so much more fun, and we would associate that with our production local replica to say, yeah, you get your design from template X, and then we would essentially do a refresh design. So application, refresh design, are you sure? Yes, I am. Go ahead and do it. It just updated our NSF, and then we would replicate that up to our production server. So again, our approach is designed for our needs. We're comfortable with it. It has barriers where we'd like them to be. It eliminates some activity that we don't feel is necessary. For instance, we're totally comfortable developing against a local NSF while we're using the repo, and then just pushing those changes in our test and dev environments. We just don't want to have that happen over here in the production environment. But that's the deal. So by now, if you've gone through the series, or even if you haven't, if you jumped in here, we've covered installation, we've covered basic committing, we've covered connecting remote repositories, we've covered using merging with branches, reverts, pulls, reassociation, and that kind of thing. And then it all ends up here in whatever strategy you're going to devise for your own use. And it can be very, very helpful, and it can certainly bail you out of some bad situations if you're diligent about this. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.